Hey guys, Ryuzakin here, and I am coming to you with episode 4 of my Big Brother 12 review and opinion show, where your opinions matter just as much as everybody else's. Now, I know I'm a bit late, but it's what you expect from me, right? We are going to be covering the the fifth week in the Big Brother house, or at least the fifth week for us, which basically consists of the ultimate showmance, romance, showmance, whatever you want to call it now, being put in jeopardy. Going back to the HOH competition, they were on that big paint can thing, holding on for dear life, with paint being sprayed in their faces of different colors and some sort of paintbrush swatting them in the face whenever they passed by. I'm not sure if there was some sort of timing or some sort of mechanism that determined when to make that paintbrush smack them or have the paint spray onto them, but either way, it essentially went like this. Kathy decided to continue playing the weak card, which she decided to hop off first because the first person off in the HOH competition would be the only have-not of that week. So Kathy was like, "Do we have a deal, guys?" Even though she wasn't saying like, "Oh, if I do this, don't put me on the block," or anything. She just said, "Is this a deal?" So everybody was kind of just bewildered and saying, "Okay, Kathy, you can do what you want." And she hopped off along with many members of the brigade, including the stronger guys like Hayden and Lane. Actually, I think Enzo was the first one off, and then Hayden, and then Lane. No, then Lane, then Hayden. Either way, a lot of the buff guys and the older guys went first, including Brendan, which Rachel was counting on because if you remember, she was week 4's HOH and she couldn't compete in this competition. So it was really up to Brendan to make sure that he and Rachel would stay safe for the week. However, things took an unexpected turn for them once Matt won head of household, which was against what they wanted most of all, because it was between Matt and Reagan, and they were kind of rooting for Reagan. But Matt is part of the brigade as well, so that means 4 people automatically safe, which at this stage of the game is very critical, because if you have a solid alliance like that and the numbers start to come in your favor, it really turns out good for you, and it really looks like those 4 are going to make it to the end, unless the other people in the house pull off some sort of, I don't know, coup d'etat or some sort of reversal. Which I doubt, but except for Brittany, because Brittany is awesome. Brittany has won 3 power veto competitions. Has anybody else won anything? No, I don't think anybody else has won anything besides Brendan. Brendan, Rachel, and Brittany outside the brigade have won something. Kathy and Reagan are the only ones who haven't won basically anything outside of the brigade alliance of 4. Enzo, Lane, Hayden, and Matt. So it looked like it would be a pretty straightforward week where Brendan and Rachel would go up because all the house pretty much dislikes them. The brigade dislikes Rachel. They talk about her behind her back. Brittany doesn't like Rachel. By the end of the HOH episode, Reagan really didn't like Rachel nor Brendan. I mean, the odds were totally stacked against them, and Rachel made a last plea to Matt to try and keep herself and Brendan safe. However, it didn't work. Going back before that, however, Matt had a choice to open Pandora's box or not, which is essentially given kind of like a double-edged sword, where he's given a mystery power, but with that mystery power comes a consequence, which I'll go over shortly. He decides to take the mystery power, which is the diamond power veto. Now, the diamond power veto I find to be incredibly rigged, well, not rigged, but incredibly overpowering, because basically it's like the coup d'etat. You can change the nomination. Say Matt is on the block next to Hayden, he can use the diamond power veto in the next 2 evictions, which is what the rules stated. The next 2 evictions, one is already passed. He can completely change the nominees, put whoever he wants up. However, I don't think he will be able to put up the HOH who's currently reigning over the House, nor can he put up the person who wins the power veto. That's my safe assumption, that they're going by the same rules as the coup d'etat. So Matt has a very strong power which guarantees himself and his brigade alliance a sure spot in the final seven, yeah. However, he might not use it if Hayden, Lane, or Enzo are all up on the block, because that would put a target on his back and make it obvious that there's an alliance going on there. So we'll have to wait and see for that. Now, we were talking about this being a double-edged sword, which the moment he opened Pandora's box, he unleashed a new saboteur into the household, and we found out, I believe, during Kristen's eviction episode, that it was going to be between Enzo and Reagan, and it ended up being Reagan by America's vote. So Reagan ends up being the new saboteur, and he accepts it. Yeah, he accepts it that episode during Matt's HOH reign, but he really doesn't have anything to do. He just makes that little typical saboteur threat that he'll come after them and they better watch their backs. But either way, the nominees are very much typical and very expected. Rachel and Brendan go up on the block. Matt put in Enzo, Lane, and Hayden's keys last to kind of draw away attention from them being aligned. Hayden's was the last key to be drawn, so Brendan and Rachel are on the block, and one of them is pretty much going to go home unless they can convince somebody to use the veto on them, which I will go over. Oh wow, only 7 minutes? Okay, I'll go over it now then. Then we move on to the veto episode. Rachel has her little emotional breakdown. Brendan decides to call Matt a midget. Brendan is going to be doing this whole... Hold on. I'm uploading stuff on YouTube, so I gotta nudge the computer mouse now and then. But Brendan is playing this whole knight position, trying to protect Rachel. He basically takes more of the target off of her back and more on his, because the House as a whole typically sees Rachel as a better competitor and less bearable than Brendan. So at the upcoming veto competition, it is Matt, Brendan, Rachel, Kathy, Brittany, Reagan, and Enzo. Yeah. Because Reagan in the last veto competition won a veto pass, which lets him be eligible to compete in the next veto competition. Now, as we both all know, Reagan is the saboteur, so I would assume that he would want to not win the veto, because even though it guarantees him safety, it would put more of a target on his back, and he doesn't want any more attention on himself. That's what I'm assuming. So when it comes down to it, it's kind of 5 against 2 in favor of getting rid of Brendan and Rachel in the competition. It's like a mini golf course. And Jordan and Jeff ends up appearing at the Big Brother house, all sported up in pink and all that, and still in love and everything. Now, let me just get a bit off topic here and say that Jordan and Jeff I was rooting for in Big Brother 11. The very first Big Brother season I watched from start to finish. And then I watched the rest of the seasons on Quirky Dude's channel. I really was rooting for them. I would have preferred Jeff to win, but he made a dumb move. They were on the Amazing Race 16, which they did not do good at. I mean, they were second to last in most of the legs, which I'm sure you guys know. They were at least, there was at least 4 or 5 other teams always ahead of them, so I don't think the Amazing Race 16 was really their cup of tea, but they still made 7th place, I believe, which is still a respectable position. But anyways, they host a veto competition. It essentially goes kind of like you go up. Rachel was the first one up first. She knocks down as many pins as possible, and it's 5 pins stacked atop of another 5 pins. And when you knock down one pin, the other one drops down, so you can hit that one out of the ballpark, whatever analogy you want to say. So Rachel goes up first. She knocks down 6, I believe, and she essentially, after you do your first round of bowling, you challenge any one of the other competitors to try and beat your score. If they do, you're out. If you still win, they're out. So, typical enough, she targets Kathy because she assumes she's weak. However, Kathy, which I had to give a total thumbs up for, ends up beating Rachel and just rubs it in her face. Well, she was excited, so I can't really blame her, but I was cheering like a little schoolgirl on the inside because Kathy won something in Big Brother, even though she didn't win the veto. Rachel totally deserved that anyway. Sorry, Rachel fans, but I am not a Rachel supporter in the slightest. Rachel is very unbearable. Her laugh is annoying. I mean, she has these whole power trips whenever she's the HOH. And how much time do I have left? Alright, I got 2 minutes left. I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, I'm totally against Team Rachel. I'm sorry, but now I'm a lot more against Team Brendan, so I would have preferred Brendan to go instead of Rachel, especially seeing what the HOH competition is. But anyways, Brittany ends up winning the power veto. The final three was Matt, Kathy, and Brittany, I think. So Brittany wins the power veto. Rachel tries to convince Brittany to use it, however she declines because it would put a target on her back because she's going against the entire house. So she flat out says to Rachel, no, I'm not using the power veto. I'm likely not going to because it would put a huge target on my back. And I believe this was the episode where Reagan did his first saboteur thing, which is... crap, I can't remember. I think it was the sabotage where he tries to give a message to Rachel telling her that Brendan has been throwing competitions. I think that was the episode where that sabotage came into play, but I could be mistaken, so I remember that one and another one that comes up in the eviction episode, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the right one. So that's essentially it for part 1 of my Big Brother 12 review and opinion show, episode 4. Sorry if I sound a little bit like, calm and collected, which is a bit weird, but, I don't have the house to myself, so I'm trying to stay as subtle as possible so they don't stare at the door and be like, what the hell is he doing? So I will be back momentarily for part 2. I will be discussing the eviction episode as well as the next sabotage and 6 HOH competitions. So the 6 HOH competitions. So I will see you guys very soon. See ya.